Hi, welcome to another edition of Senator Kissel and Friends. I'm your host, State Senator John Kissel, serving the people, the wonderful people in the towns of Enfield, Somers, Suffield, Windsor, Windsor-Locks, East Granby, and Granby. Mrs. Taylor, that's for you. Cindy, Nathaniel, and Tristan, I will be home shortly after we tape this wonderful early autumn, sort of mid-autumn program, and we're talking about cable, and I have three fabulous guests on the program, so let me introduce them right now, and then we're going to jump into the program. To my left, Mr. Peter Talbot. He's affiliated with Cox, and I want to make sure I get your exact title correctly.
Thank you, John.
Let's see. You are the Cox Statewide Public Access Manager.
Yes.
Peter Talbot, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you very much, Senator.
To Peter's left, from the Cable Advisory Council, the chair, Alex Frasier, and that's the council here in Enfield?
It's the council for all 10 towns
All
that
10
Cox
towns.
serves.
All right, well, we'll get into what
Thank
all
you.
those 10 towns are. Alex,
Yep.
thank you so much for being on the program. And to Alex's left, an old and dear friend from Connecticut Valley Views, Susan Regan from the great town of Granby.
You've got it right.
Thank you so much for
All right.
being on the program.
Delighted, John.
Okay, let's start with you, Peter.
Sure.
Exactly what is it that you do, and what is the status of cable and public access with Cox right now? And, you know, sort of, it seems to be changing as to what Congress requires or doesn't require, but here we are. I've got crack volunteers in the studio, in the control room, beautiful facility. So this is a huge investment in North Central Connecticut. And so how did this all come to be?
Well, it actually started, Senator, back with the Cable Act of '74, as part of the original, selling television to, to the home customers. Part of the give back was public access. So public access dates back to the, the very beginnings of, when cable first started, not only in the state but in the nation. It was established by the FCC and was a way to give people access to the airwaves, so to speak. So you had your network television, and you had a couple different satellite broadcasters at the time, but you had public access, which gave, the consumer a chance to, go on television, entertain, educate, inform their friends and neighbors, and in the communities that was served by the cable operator.
And that's what I've been doing for 22 years now, and
Exactly.
we try to make it non-political. It's more community service, different groups that are out there, whether it's police chiefs, fire chiefs, student council presidents. We really like to try to make it an interesting show and inform our viewers as to what's going on. And so now let me just move to Mr. Frasier. You said that there's 10 towns and you're the chairman on a council that sort of oversees some of this stuff. Could you explain to our audience perhaps what your role is and how often do you meet and what do you guys do?
Sure. So the Cable Advisory Councils are set up under state statutes to provide basically input to the certified cable providers, which Cox is in our area, on a host of issues. In the past, when there was franchise renewals in play, we're truly the voice of customer. We brought issues in front of the DPUC at the time, now it's Pura, and really helped try to negotiate of the best terms for all of our towns. And at that time, it could be matters as far as the number of return lines, ensuring that cable was made available at all of the public libraries.
What is a return line for those who are not as
So-
tech savvy as you?
So a return line means it's the ability so that in your town, you can have a return video signal from the town hall or a public access point. So if you're doing a live, say, selectmen's town meeting or a public meeting, the video signal could be brought back into this facility and then distributed back out. So people that might not be able to make the meeting could still tune in live and see what was going on.
How often do these discussions and negotiations take place? How many years pass by?
Well, now the landscape has changed. So all of the cable companies are operating now under the terms of a certificate of video carriage. So and that transpired when AT&T Uverse came into the picture. The legislature, by creating the ability for AT&T U-verse to have a statewide license, really opened up a loophole that allowed the cable companies to change the, basically turn in their franchise agreements in exchange for a certificate of video carriage. So now there's no longer any hearings per se for license renewal. Pure still has purview specifically over public access. And in fact, very recently, Cox's facilities were reviewed. I think they were the second entity that was reviewed in Connecticut, and Pure came through with some recommendations. In general, they found Cox was doing an excellent job at managing the studio, managing public access, and there were a couple of points that they brought forward that the advisory council now is working with Cox and with providers to really get in place to bring the notch up from a 90% level to a 100% or higher level.
Wow, see, I'm learning tons of stuff as we speak. Ms. Regan, you are well known in not only Granby, but North Central Connecticut. Connecticut Valley Views has a very wide viewership. And what got you involved in wanting to do that? And sort of tell us a little bit for our audience what Connecticut Valley Views is all about.
Certainly. Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much, John, for having me on the program and to be able to talk about my program. And I want to thank Peter because they have been very supportive towards our program and showing all of our shows.
See, that's good to hear. I like hearing that.
I think that the reason we got involved was we wanted to know more about our own town, Granby. And we felt that having an inside look at the people who run the town, and specifically starting with the government people, where you have your first selectmen, the policemen, as you said, the firemen and so forth, people would have more of a rapport with the people because there's not an opportunity during these meetings for people to actually get to know the people who run the town and the whys and the wherefores. So I started to interview those people, and about that time the political season was starting. And we were running for governor, et cetera, as we are now.
About how many years ago?
4 years ago.
4 years ago, okay.
And I felt that it was going so well that I could approach the people who were running, give them the opportunity. I'm talking about the Green Party, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Independent Party. And I started to interview those people, and that went well, and it was gaining more interest. And as we broadened out, I started to pick up on subject matter. So it were topics of the current issues with politics, with business, with industry, with health industry. And from there, we also decided we would do a sort of on-the-road program as well. So we visited a number of places. There was the Air Museum, the Wadsworth Museum, the Hillstead Museum. And in fact, I did one that was actually been viewed almost more than any other one. It was about trafficking, which is a very rather dark subject. We were talking about children who had been lost and taken from the United States and literally moved to Europe.
Wow.
And so that one actually won an award, as did the Hillstead Museum one. We actually won a national award for public access
Wow,
TV.
congratulations, that's awesome.
So the state of Connecticut also provided us with 2 grants in order that we could get our own high-def audiovisual equipment. So therefore, we were not tied to our local station having to keep borrowing the equipment. We were independent, and we are the only independent producers of a program now, and we can literally go anywhere, anytime, to do whatever we would like to do on any subject or topic. So that has been very,
Wow.
yeah, it's been very exciting. I've had a number of very high-profile people, not only in the Connecticut area, but also on a national basis.
Start dropping some names, we want to hear it.
Yeah, well, Barbara Franklin, she was the Secretary of Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
David Walker, who just recently was running for Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
And so the actual people who I had on then started to provide me with comments about the show, which we have now put on our website, saying that they enjoyed it. It was one of the best interviews they ever had. And that kind of thing gives merit to the fact that when you invite the next person on, whoever that may be, they can see that they're in pretty good company when we do our interviews.
Very good.
I just wanted to add, one of the things, Senator, I think that's so great about public access is it gives people the opportunity in a long format to not just be a soundbite. You know, the news is taking that 15, 20-second clip, and, you know, it's very easy to have something you say taken out of context. But in this format, you get to hear the entire story, and I think that's why the guests enjoy being on programs not only like yours but like Susan's, where they have that ability to tell the full story.
Yeah, and what always surprises me, and I'm sure the same thing happens to you, is, I bump into people and they go, I just saw that program. And I don't do any polling, I don't, do any market research, but people will channel surf, and if it's a new cable access program, that I'm doing, they'll watch it, and people do get informed. And I do find that there's charitable groups out there that actually we can make DVDs and then let them use them in whatever they're doing. So try to leverage everything.
That's all right. I was just going to say one of the more fun ones I did with.
Well, let me just pause right now. And we got the crack staff. So while when I go back to you, Susan, if they could locate your intro commercials for
our 30-second commercial,
30-second commercial, we'll air that coming up. As soon as we see it, we'll stop talking.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go. Join me, Susan Regan, host of Connecticut Valley Views, the most widely watched interview program on Connecticut Public Access TV. Proof to the people is the byline, insight without bias, generating a 360 perspective. Our mission is to focus on topical subjects with thought-provoking interviews regarding municipal leadership, current affairs, educational and political topics, as well as key destination points in New England. Fridays, Cox Channel 15 at 6 p.m. and see all our shows on our website, ctvalleyviews.com.
There we go. So what was all that about, and how'd you make that happen?
Well, obviously, those were some of the people that I had interviewed, and we decided, my husband and I decided, he is the executive producer of the show, and we felt that if we had
Give
a way...
a plug to your husband.
Yes, Bill Regan, yes. Yes, he does a great job. He's learned as he's gone along, but he hit the ground flying, and he's done a fantastic job for me. So we're a duo, and we're the team. One of the interviews that I did, I wanted to say, was I did Al Terzi, and it was kind of interesting to actually go on his set and do it on his show set. So rather than him interviewing people, I was interviewing him on there, and got a little bit of background about him too, because he's so well known. So there have been a lot of highlights that have been very exciting and fun to do, and the people really seem to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and as much as I've done this for many, many years, 22 years, occasionally I'm asked to speak on one of the new, the major news programs. Maybe it's, head to head with, I've actually sat there and chatted, and it was Chris Donovan or Dick Blumenthal or George Jepson or something. But in those studios, it's pretty cool. It's just pretty amazing. Not that you guys aren't rock solid amazing, because you are. But when you have someone's doing something over here and something's going on over there, and they get it all going at the same time. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I am been lucky enough to serve for the last several years on the Cox Charities Board.
Yes.
And so, Peter, not only are we chatting about public access, but you guys, I think, have made a conscious, deliberative effort to be good corporate citizens in North Central Connecticut. So maybe you want to explain a little bit about that, because for folks who might be out there, not all corporations are just about maximizing profits, and if it gets a little rocky out there, they take off. You guys are here to say, and you've made a commitment not only to places like this beautiful studio, but to our young people.
Cox is a family-owned company, and that's one of the nicest things about working for the company, is that they have a culture that is designed to give back to the community. So, and we thank you for your service. But one of the things that we do is the scholarships that we award annually. We give out scholarships at the state capitol, as well as Cox Charities grants. And for the Cox Charities grants, we focus on children with an emphasis on after-school care. So the nonprofits that receive grants from the company are all involved in providing after-school care to youth, because it's the time when they're most vulnerable.
Yep.
So
Latchkey kids, and I know that Education Resources for Children has been the recipient of many grants over the years, and they do an outstanding job here in North Central Connecticut. But there's other groups throughout your region that have benefited, whether it's Boys and Girls Clubs or police athletic leagues. It's anything and everything.
That's one of the best parts about the job is to, to show up to those events and be able to hand out those checks.
And you also have an outlet store here in Enfield, or
We have what's called a solution store.
Solution store.
It's more of a a retail presence that allows people to to come in. Because we have internet, phone, and as well as plain old cable television, if you want to call it.
But we've
that.
given out the big checks at that place sometimes too, the big giant checks.
So it provides the people the opportunity to come in and touch and feel the products because they are so visual. So
Now, Alex, you had indicated that you've now reviewed the status of where Cox is right now, and you seem to intimate that you want them to get to the next level, that they're super wonderful right now, but
Right.
they could even be that much more wonderful. And again, in talking to all three of you, it looks like you have a really good working relationship and there's no antagonism. And that's great to see in this day and age. What are some of the things that you're hoping that maybe can develop out of sort of the next stage?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing I see long term is as Cox's system goes totally digital, it would be the ability for consumers to access public access programming at the time that's convenient for themselves, like a DVR recording. Everybody has home DVRs. You're probably recording, a newscast or whatever right now.
Oh, I'm not so sure. But if I need something recorded, I ask my wife to record it for me.
But at least you have the ability to do that and access it, or go on to on demand and access a channel again when you want. So, that would be able to extend, I think, the outreach and awareness of public access programming. So you're not locked into a show airing on a particular date and a particular time.
Okay.
So I think long term, the advisory councils had talks with Cox about that. I know in my town of Suffield, we've alerted the selectman's office that this is something that we are aspiring to have engaged and transacted, and they're 100% before, because that's actually going to serve a need that they have right now. On the short term, Cox is working with the producers that are doing shows right now to really help provide a better way to promote the programs, so that it be system-wide awareness. Because awareness, like I said, you yourself don't do polls on your programs. I think that a lot of people aren't fully aware of the quality of the programs, the diversity of the programs that are here, or even the fact that the studio's here, and the studio offers free training for anybody that wants to learn how to produce a show. And I can share over the years that I've been involved in this, which are probably 18 on plus. It's been a good almost like an internship path. So people that have gone through and gotten involved in producing shows are now working successfully professionally in mainstream broadcast.
Wow. And plus, I know that, again, my crack team of volunteers, they've been doing this for years and years and years, and they seem to really love it. And I think that they've developed skills that they probably can use in other aspects of their lives. Yes, Peter?
one of the things I wanted to add, just to tag team off of what Alex said, is that through our website now, through the public access website for Connecticut, in the Enfield franchise, any of our locally produced programs can be seen on an on-demand basis by going to the program schedule through the Enfield website program lineup, and you can click on view, and Senator Kissel and Friends can be seen at any time of the day or night by individuals.
Cool. Didn't even know that.
We haven't gotten to the video on demand that Alex is talking about. It is something that we are certainly pursuing, but in the short term, that's one of the things that we've come up with to give people the ability to see it, not just when it's on, but any time that's convenient
Can
for
people
them.
access, for example, this program on a computer or no?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
that's the way
so
they
it's like
would do it.
CTN. It's like CTN. Like if sometimes if there's like a legislative hearing on something interesting, I can go in and check it on my
Exactly,
computer.
and
Exactly.
you can web stream it at your convenience. So.
Susan, does it sound like a wonderful, exciting new
Well, it
world
does.
that you're
and
involved in?
It does. And just recently, just to also comment further on what Alex was saying, was the fact that we are able to now, what we're looking forward to is the cross-pollination through Meriden and Manchester, to be able to have those programs showing on a wider basis. So that would increase us by another 10 towns at least for our show. And when we do our show, we publicize in all the major newspapers. So we would there start putting press releases in there. And I'd like to just add, since I have the opportunity, we have extended our program visibility, if it were. We now have an online publication called the CT Web. It is Element, CT Web Element, and it is an extension of the program by virtue of the fact we have our programs on there and about our guests. But in addition to that, we are covering in about 4 to 5 different sections things that are something called Eagle Eye, which is our national issues and things that are going on at the moment. We have a healthcare section where it's all bringing everybody up to date on things that are happening in the healthcare industry, the insurance, and all of the issues that are going on with regard to that. We also have one that is arts and culture, trend-setting things, so that's going to bring people up to that. There's another one for Act 2, which are people for 50 and over. ARP is sponsoring that, actually, that section. And so all the things that are meaningful to people, to a better quality of life for them. And there's another one that's called Neighborhood Watch, and brings people up to date on scams and things that are going on around their neighborhoods. So that in itself, that will supplement our program. And then the program, of course, I will mention the fact that we have this. And that is an opportunity there where if we wanted to have someone to be a sponsor for it, we could, because that's a non-commercial thing, whereas in public access TV, of course, we cannot commercialize anyone.
So if someone's watching at home and they think this sounds really exciting, how can they access this?
Well, actually, you can go on our website. Either one will take you to it, but it would be the ctvalleyviews.com, which is where you could go for our website. And if you wanted to go to the website for our new publication, it would be CT WE, actually VV, and the two V's together make the web. So you have the ctvveb.com.
Okay.
All right, but either way, you can get to it. And people in that, I'm very proud to say we have started a fundraising opportunity for a track chair. I am very concerned about our veterans. It's something that I have a real passion to want to do something for them. People will be able to donate to this. I'm hoping to find a sponsor. We'll do matching funds, and we can buy a track chair and donate it to a vet in Connecticut.
Oh, that's really aspirational.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And while this is not necessarily my holiday program, we'll do that in a month. That's in the same, so that's sort of a good segue,
Yeah.
good lead into the holiday spirit of
Yes.
going out there and doing nice things for
Yes.
people. That's terrific.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, the track chair thing is a real passion of mine. I want to do something for our vets. They have been undermined and not enough done for.
Wow. All right. And especially in North Central Connecticut, we definitely watch out for our veterans. And so I see that we're getting close to running out of time, but there's so many things. I want to make sure that each one of you have touched upon things that you want to make sure that our viewers are aware of. So, Peter, is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you want to make sure that the folks watching are aware of?
Absolutely. I would be remiss to not mention Sandy Zakowski and Mark Warnock, who run this facility on a full-time basis, as well as Chris Giard, who is our engineer that services all our facilities.
You're so
here in
good.
the-
I just referenced the crack volunteers, but you're doing the name
so
dropping.
I would
and
I
that's
would
good.
be remiss not to mention Sandy and Mark. They do an outstanding job up here.
They do. They really do. Alex?
Well, I think, the one thing that I'll push back on you, Senator, is, to try to restore the PEG-PISA funding as far as the funds actually going to the
I'm your state
providers.
senator. I work for you, so you're completely within your rights.
So PEG-PISA is funding that's still being paid. Every cable provider still pays in $1 or a percentage of their cable bill into this funding. And it was intent by the legislature to then provide grant money, such as what Susan received, to make it easier for producers and entities and towns and schools to be able to produce their own programming. And over the years, and all of the systems unfortunately have done this. As the fund increases and it's gotten pretty high, the funds have been diverted from their original intent back into the general fund. And I know a bill had been introduced a while ago to try to stop that, but it died in committee. So the intent,
We
the
should keep that
intent
fight
is there.
going then.
Yeah.
I hate to see dedicated funds raided, because that's just, that's not fair, and people aren't putting that additional charge in their cable bill to have it rated by the general fund. So, again, we're not political, but God willing, I get reelected, talk to me, and I'll put that bill in there, and we'll try to see what we can make that happen, because it benefits the entire community if it gets put in the right spot, right?
Exactly. And in our community, Enfield's received several rounds of funding. Granby's received several rounds of funding, and Suffield's received funding, and I believe East Windsor as well. So it really has helped. The intent has been there, and it has helped.
Okay, and Susan, we're down to the last couple of minutes.
Sure. Well, one of the things I'd like to say that we recently had a meeting, and it was with the Cable Advisory Committee and with Peter and some of the other producers of other shows. And one of the things that they have announced now that Cox is going to do a generic commercial for our public access programs, as it were. So in the next 6 to 12 months, we should have something that will literally run on cable television.
Awesome.
To bring awareness to your show and all of the producers who put so much work into making their shows. And I think that's very important, because obviously the bulk of TV viewing is on the cable programs.
Okay.
And
All
to
right.
make words, there's something else to watch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I just have to wrap up, because I see that now we're down to like less than 2 minutes. So my guest for our program, Mr. Peter Talbot, and he's Cox Statewide Public Access Manager. Peter, thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you
the
very much,
program.
Senator.
To Peter's left, we have Alex Frasier, and he's the Cable Advisory Council Chair for the 10 towns served by Cox Cable here in North Central Connecticut.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much for being in the program. An award-winning producer, director, and star of her own program, Connecticut Valley Views, Ms. Susan Regan.
Thank you, Senator.
Susan, thank you so much for being on the
Good
program.
luck going
And
forward.
Thank you, I appreciate it, and congratulations on your
Thank you.
awards.
Thank you.
I'm your host, State Senator John Kissel, serving the wonderful people in the towns of Enfield, Suffield, Summers, Windsor, Windsor Locks, East Granby, and Granby. Mrs. Taylor, that's for you. Cindy, Nathaniel, and Tristan, I shall be home shortly. And thank you all so much for tuning in on Senator Kissel and Friends. I think we've all learned an awful lot. And thank you to all the wonderful volunteers and Sandy and Mark. And anybody else we may have forgotten to name. We're thinking of you.